Picture this. You've been doing everything right. Every single bill paid on time. No missed payments, no late fees, no surprises. You're practically a model borrower. So one morning, you open your bank app or one of those free credit monitoring services just to check in. And your score dropped? Not by 1 or 2 points. We're talking 15, 20, maybe 30 points. And you're just sitting there staring at the screen thinking, what did I do wrong? Because you didn't miss anything. You didn't open a new card. You didn't take out a loan. You didn't do anything different. You just paid your bills like you were supposed to.
This is one of the most frustrating and confusing things that happens to people who are genuinely trying to be responsible with their money. And the worst part, most people have absolutely no idea why it happens. So they either panic, assume their identity got stolen, or they give up trying to understand credit altogether.
And look, there's no shortage of bad advice when it comes to credit scores. On one side, you've got the oversimplified crowd, saying just pay your bills on time and your credit will be fine. On the other side, you've got the overcomplicated crowd, talking about credit hacking strategies, opening 12 cards, gaming balance transfers, and optimizing utilization down to the decimal. Neither of those answers actually explain what's happening here, and neither of them will help you the next time your score drops without warning.
Because here's what most people don't realize. Your payment history is only one piece of your credit score, and sometimes doing everything right in one area means something else shifts quietly in the background without you ever noticing. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why your credit score can drop even when you never miss a payment, and what you can actually do about it.
My name's Mac, and if you've ever been blindsided by a credit score drop that made absolutely no sense, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with something most people don't fully understand about how credit scores actually work. Your credit score is not simply a measure of whether you pay your bills on time. It's a measure of how you look as a borrower across 5 different categories. Payment history is the biggest one, making up about 35% of your total score. But here's the part that trips people up. The other 65% has absolutely nothing to do with whether you paid on time, which means even with a perfect payment record, 4 other factors are quietly moving in the background every single month, and any one of them can drag your score down without a single missed payment. So let's go through the most common reasons this actually happens.
Reason number 1. Your credit utilization spiked. This is probably the most common cause of surprise score drops, and most people have no idea it's even happening. Credit utilization is the percentage of your available credit that you're currently using at any given time, and it makes up about 30% of your score, making it the second biggest factor after payment history. Most experts recommend keeping utilization below 30%. Ideally closer to 10%. Here's a simple example. Let's say you have a credit card with a $5,000 limit, and you put $2,500 on it this month. That's 50% utilization. Now, you plan to pay that balance off in full before the due date. But here's the catch. Your card issuer typically reports your statement balance to the credit bureaus before your payment clears. So the bureaus see $2,500 sitting on a $5,000 limit, and your score gets calculated on that, even though you paid it off completely. The timing of when your balance gets reported matters just as much as whether you pay.
Reason number 2. A credit account was closed. This one catches people completely off guard because it feels like the responsible thing to do. Maybe you paid off an old credit card and decided to close it since you weren't using it anymore. Clean, simple, done. But here's what most people don't realize. Closing an account reduces your total available credit. And when your available credit shrinks, your utilization ratio increases automatically, even if your actual spending didn't change at all. Here's the math. Say you have 3 cards with a combined limit of $15,000 and a balance of $3,000. That's 20% utilization. You close one card with a $5,000 limit. Your available credit drops to $10,000. Same $3,000 balance, but now your utilization is 30%. Score drops, and you didn't spend a single extra dollar. From the scoring model's perspective, you're suddenly using a larger percentage of your available credit, even though your financial behavior never changed.
Reason number 3. Your average credit age went down. Part of your score is built on the average age of all your open credit accounts. Older accounts, even ones you barely use, are pulling that average up and helping your score stay stable. And that's where things get interesting.
When a card gets closed, either by you or by the issuer for inactivity, it eventually falls off your credit report entirely. And when that happens, your average account age can drop noticeably. A lower average age signals more risk to lenders. Think about it this way. Someone with 10 years of borrowing history generally looks more predictable than someone with only 2 or 3 years. The longer the track record, the more confidence lenders have in the pattern, which means that old card you completely forgot about may have been helping your score the entire time, even if you hadn't used it in years. And the moment it disappears, your score can move in the wrong direction. Not because you made a mistake, not because you missed a payment, simply because part of your credit history became shorter.
Reason number 4, a hard inquiry hit your report. Every time you apply for new credit, whether that's a credit card, a car loan, a mortgage, or sometimes even a new phone plan, the lender runs what's called a hard inquiry on your credit file. Each one typically drops your score somewhere between 5 and 10 points. Now, one inquiry on its own is not a disaster, but if you applied for a few things in the same general time frame, the effects start stacking up. And here's the thing that catches people. The drop doesn't always show up immediately. It can take a billing cycle or two before you actually see it reflected in your score, which makes it incredibly easy to forget about the application altogether. And when the score finally drops, it can feel like it came out of nowhere, when in reality, the cause was already set in motion weeks earlier. That's why understanding the timing matters just as much as understanding the inquiry itself.
Reason number 5, your credit mix changed. Lenders like to see that you can handle different types of credit responsibly. Credit cards, installment loans, auto loans, student loans, and mortgages all fall into separate categories. And together, they help paint a picture of how you manage borrowed money. When you pay off a loan entirely and it closes, that is a genuine financial win. But here's where things get a little counterintuitive. It can temporarily reduce the variety of credit types on your profile, and credit mix makes up about 10% of your total score. So paying off your car loan or your student loan could actually nudge your score down slightly. Not because you made a mistake, not because you managed the loan poorly, but because the scoring model now sees a less diverse borrowing profile. In other words, your finances improved. Score just doesn't always recognize that improvement immediately. And that's an important distinction to understand.
Now here's something nobody really talks about. The credit scoring system wasn't built to reward you for being financially healthy. It was built to predict how likely you are to borrow money and pay it back. Those are not the same thing. Someone who avoids debt entirely can have a lower score than someone who borrows constantly but manages it carefully, which is why a lot of people who are in genuinely good financial shape end up confused and frustrated by a number that doesn't seem to reflect reality. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine paid off his car loan ahead of schedule. He was proud of it, called me up excited, but about 2 months later, he texted me a screenshot of his credit score. It had dropped 18 points. He was furious. But once you understand how the system works, it actually makes sense. The loan closing reduced his credit mix, lowered his average account age slightly, and shifted his overall borrowing profile. His finances were objectively better. The model just didn't see it that way. And that's the difference between understanding your finances and understanding your credit score.
Here's the good news. Most of these drops are temporary. Scores recover when your overall credit profile stays healthy over time. The key is understanding which factors are actually moving, so you're not left guessing every time something shifts. So here's what to keep in mind going forward. Keep your credit utilization below 30% at all times. Not just after you pay your bill, but when the statement closes. Be careful about closing old credit accounts, even ones you haven't touched in years. Limit hard inquiries by only applying for new credit when you genuinely need it. Understand that paying off loans is a financial win, even if your score dips temporarily. And whenever possible, keep old accounts open, even with a small recurring charge just to prevent them from going inactive. At the end of the day, your credit score is not something you chase. It's something you manage with consistency and awareness. Your credit score is a tool. And like any tool, it works better when you understand how it actually operates, not just the surface level version everyone keeps repeating. If this helped clear up something that's been confusing you, hit the subscribe button. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever had your credit score drop and had absolutely no idea why? Drop it in the comments, because I can almost guarantee you're not alone.